Sat Sri Akal everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Khalsa. Today we have with us Deepak from Steer Protocol, which is the most advanced protocol for on-chain finance. And I'm happy to have you here, Deepak. It is a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you, brother. Could you introduce yourself and your role as a COO at Steer Finance?
Sure. Uh, so I'm Deepak, working as a CEO at Steer. Started 4 year back, working in Steer. I currently handle product growth, partnership, and execution. Basically, making sure what vision we have. It comes to the reality and with the right system and the right people. Uh, yeah, so that's about me and Steer.
Um, let's start a bit with your personal background, Deepak. Could you tell more about yourself and what led you into the world of crypto and Web3?
Yeah, so I started as a programmer in 2010 and 11-ish. Worked with a lot of Web2 startups in India. Was lucky enough to work with few of the good ones who are actually became unicorn later on. And then the fascination with the crypto world started in 2015 and 16 when I saw Bitcoin, right, like everyone else, right. When I saw the first time the Bitcoin price was anywhere between 900, the next time I saw it was around 1800, so it doubled in just two
Good
three months.
times.
Yeah, and I was like, what is this asset, right? And then I started to investigate. Being from the tech side, right, I started get into the nitty gritties of how Bitcoin actually works, right? What's the underlying technology and stuff. And from there is no going back, right? I really love the decentralized, permissionless, the open environment, right? It gave us the infrastructure for things to be programmable and open so that anyone can see and use and then can trust. So yeah.
Very nice. Thank you for that, Deepak. About Steer Finance, for those who may not know, what is Steer Finance in your own words? I've been following you guys since the last 4 years now. There were a lot of pivots that
Yeah.
have happened and which are very good.
Yeah.
Some pivots are bad. I think your pivots have been very, very much pro business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you tell everyone um, what is Steer Protocol? What is Steer Finance?
Sure. So we started as an off-chain compute infra. Uh, so me and Derek, who is the founder, we were actually came from a lot of companies who where we have realized that there at certain point of time you need a execution or a compute layer where you have some kind of data and you're trying to do any kind of automation, and then eventually you go and host it on AWS or any sort of centralized platform. And then we realize, why a centralized platform if you're building a decentralized protocol, right? That's where the idea hit. And then we realized, let's build a decentralized off-chain compute infra where you bring or use any kind of data, using any kind of programming language, on any kind of automation that you want to do on any kind of chain, right? This was the initial idea. uh, we started with this, but there was not much pull at that point of time when we launched this protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we built our own product on top of it, which was in the liquidity management space.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then from there, there's no look back. We actually found a lot of pull, a lot of need from the this niche. So our compute infra is actually now niched into a on-chain finance category where we
Mm-hmm.
provide infrastructure, the world most advanced infrastructure for on-chain finance. So if you're looking for any kind of yield generating vaults, or yield generating hooks, reward distribution platforms, any kind of liquidity related product, or
Mm-hmm.
SDK and data layers or compute to build those liquidity related products, we are the one stop solution for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Okay.
protocol right now utilizes to build sustainable tokenomics,
Mm-hmm.
automated yield generation and optimization. We provide secured vault infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, DAOs also use us for treasury management. Institution utilizes. for their enterprise grade security and risk control and regulatory compliance solutions.
Okay.
So overall, we became a one-stop shop for any kind of automation growth of on-chain assets.
Hmm. And what inspired you to create Steer, and what is the gap that you're trying to fill in DeFi?
Yeah, so see, there is many perspective to it, right? When we started, as I've already told you, right, inspiration was from our past companies, right? Every company we were in, we were building the same thing at one point of time, and we realized we need this as a decentralized system. So that's how we started. Uh, However, right now, if you look at space, you see a
Mhm.
lot of generalized compute present, but there is no specialized compute for on-chain finance. And I
Mhm.
think that's where Steer shines in. Uh, we have currently partnered with so many protocols and DAOs and chains,
Mhm.
right? All of them are utilizing us in some of the different fashion, right? Maybe our yield generation product, maybe our incentive distribution product, maybe it's some of the other products built on first year protocol. So yeah, I mean, we specialize our compute in finance space, and I think that's what was missing in the Web3 space as of now. So I think later on, I think maybe in down the line 6 to 7 months, or maybe in future, you'll see more specialized compute coming into the Web3 spaces, which may be
Mhm.
specialized in finance, one may be specialized in maybe some other thing. But I think as of now, there was all about generalized compute. I think there would
Mhm.
be specialized compute conversation coming soon in the Web3 world, and that's where Steer will fit in better. So basically, no need to reinvent the wheel, right? Just use
Mhm.
Steer as one solution for all liquidity related stuff.
Hmm. Let's talk more about liquidity and yield and automation.
Sure.
How does Steer protocol implement the automated yield strategies? What is your process?
So basically, there are two aspects to this question. One is how those strategies are being created, and
Mhm.
second is how those strategies are being executed.
Mhm.
So if I talk about on the creation level, Steer do provide SDK and data layers which anyone can utilize in their own programming language can code, utilize our data marketplace if they need any kind of data, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then build using Steer SDKs. Once they have built it, we do provide more tooling like backtesting tooling, which they can backtest upon on their chain that they want to backtest upon, or the dexes they want to test upon, or the pool they want to test upon. Once they have a good amount of risk to reward ratios, right, and then they can contact Steer, and then we can just run one more backtest on our end, and then we can host it. Right now, Steer do offer the largest suite of automated strategies. If you
Mhm.
look at our closest competitor, they have anywhere between 2 to 3 strategies. Steer offer anywhere between 20 to 25 strategies for
Wow.
all kind of asset pairs. So maybe LST, LRT, RWAs, blue chips, you name it, we have it.
Mhm.
So that's on the strategy level. On the execution side, user or protocol, right, can define the execution logics, right? Like when they want to do a rebalance, what kind of width they need in terms of liquidity provisioning, right? Now, once they have done all that, right, our decentralized node system actually pick those strategies and start to execute. All this happened in a deterministic manner,
Mhm.
meaning that so we have different pipelines of execution. One is our
Mhm.
strategy pipeline, another one is our data pipeline, and the last one is our execution pipeline. So
Okay.
strategy, so all these node execute strategies, they publish a result. If they
Mhm.
require a data, then the data pipeline actually also publish a result. Or
Hmm.
there's a voting mechanism that happens on the data that they have published. If
Uh,
the data
mhm.
is right, or the voting pass, then there is a consensus that happened on chain, and then one of our keeper node is actually picked up and then executed. So that's how
Uh,
it's been done on the creation
mhm.
side. And if I have to tell you the differentiation of how our strategies are different from all the others, so Steer invented something called multi-position strategy system, where
Mhm.
the liquidity, now if you go and check the concentrated
The liquidity is
liquidity,
divided into different ticks like Uniswap V3, right? So the
that's correct.
position is not only concentrated at a one stretch. So they have improved this with the introduction of what do they call it in Uniswap V4?
Hooks.
They call it hooks. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have a yield generating hooks that's going under an audit right now.
Awesome.
What it does is, so a lot of the time, if you see the liquidity, it's not being used. I mean,
Mhm.
yes, a certain portion of the liquidity is being used for the swaps, right, where the LP can generate fees. But most
Mhm.
of the time, there are some part of liquidity that just stay as it is, right?
Correct. Okay.
So what we built as a hook is that take the part of the liquidity which is not being utilized in swaps and put that into a lending protocol and let that earn more yield, right?
Got it. Also, you automatically manage the tick position so that the yield is optimized,
Yes,
right? So you give these like solutions a platform where they can create such new yield bearing strategies.
that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then see now hooks will actually unlock a lot of a better yield, I would say. Uh, See now if you, let's suppose you think that you have two yield bearing assets, right? Now so you're already earning on those yield bearing assets.
Correct.
Now you add that into a steer vault. Now you're earning from the automated liquidity management, right? How the liquidity is being managed. We are able to have more fees being generated through it.
Mm-hmm.
All these fees are auto compounded, right? So you earn probably gonna more. The IL that you probably gonna hit manually managing it will be very less. Uh, so overall, and then on top of it, we have this hooks which will utilize a part of your liquidity put into a yield generating vault or a bridge vault or a bridge liquidity as well. So our idea here is eventually, I think you'll see in a couple of quarters, Steer
Mm-hmm.
will be a place where you provide liquidity at just one point, and that liquidity will be used for your spot market, perp market, option
For
vaults,
better. Oh.
bridge assets, everything.
So,
So
in short, Steer Protocol is giving a suite of investment products which investors can utilize to grow their investment in the most transparent manner, right?
correct. Grow
So,
as well as be sustainable in terms of bad timing, right? When the markets are bad, right?
oh wow, which is very interesting, very very nice. And I think the time has changed a lot since Uniswap V2.
Yeah,
I mean, so many things have been introduced. So I remember this new exchange launched on Sonic blockchain called Metropolis, which is like not exactly a fork of Uniswap V3, but they have their own terminologies
yeah,
and their own tick mechanism and their own strategies. But I really like this idea where you are using the unused uh, liquidity to a lending pool for an additional LP.
yeah.
And are you currently giving the returns in the traditional LP way, or are you also like focused on giving it in other ways as well?
When you say other ways, can you expand on it? Is it, are
Um,
you talking about stable or the asset which is
yeah,
not the
yeah,
underlying value? Okay.
yes, yes, exactly.
Right now, see, depends upon which lending provider we use, right? And what kind of asset is being lent. So if the lending provider gives, the different kind of assets, then we offer different kind of assets. If they do not, then we do not. However, in terms of LP provisioning, the asset they actually get into is where the fees are earned in the same asset. So it's the same thing.
So, if any institution wants to provision their liquidity to Steer Protocol, you will give them a transparent, open platform where they can grow their investment. To
That's
keep it
correct.
simple, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
correct.
what is the kind of APY or APR are you guys giving currently, so that the institution guys who might see this podcast, they would be very excited to understand what is uh, that interesting point that they can get from Steer.
See, if I specifically talk about institution, then most of the liquidity sits into stables. So if
Let's
I
talk
just
about stable coins. I completely agree. This
Yeah,
is where the conversation has become more interesting. Now we're talking about money. Yeah.
yeah. So anywhere, see, depending upon the kind of pool, the MM and the chain,
Uh-huh.
the APR range from 6 to 18% on stable,
APR.
right?
Okay, that is like a simple interest for
Yeah,
not tech savvy people.
yeah, 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 yeah.
APR means simple interest.
That's correct.
Okay. And
Yeah,
what
so
about A? Mm-hmm.
APY, we don't calculate APY because there's a lot of
Which is
factors attached to
interesting.
it.
Which is
Yeah.
interesting. That is another use case because people don't find it very interesting because APY changes a lot, right? So if you
No,
can
APR,
give them,
APR also change a lot. Point is that we do a 7 day trailing average, so you have more better assessment of
Mhm.
things rather than see go to any DeFi protocol, whether a lending or a LP provisioning, right? The APY APRs keep on changing because it's all volume dependent and other factor dependent, which is not in anyone's control, right?
Mhm.
So just to give you a ballpark in terms of average, as I said, right, anywhere between 6 to 18. I have seen 52% as well on one
I'm
of the
sure. I'm
yeah,
sure. There
yeah,
are some very interesting stable coins that are being launched right now, especially when like USDC is going to go public very soon. So I think there are some more exciting opportunities that are coming up, and I'm
yeah.
seeing these crazy opportunities on Sonic blockchain, these crazy
Sonic.
new stable
So the
coins
yeah,
getting launched. So
52% that I talk about was actually on one of the AMM on Sonic.
I can imagine, man. I can imagine these crazy stuff. These crazy things are only happening on Sonic right now because that's
Yeah,
where the crazy volume is growing.
yeah. I mean, see what I mean. You see these L2 and L3 chains coming, right? One of them just picks up, other just go away, right? So I think that right now it's the time for Sonic, to blossom and shine. But I think there are few chains who just survive, right, in long term. I mean, we are on 30 plus, 38 plus chains. So we have seen a lot of chain winding up soon, right? A lot of chains
Yeah.
going up, right? But hard for them to be stable enough to sustain those volumes and TVLs that they have.
Everyone knows the Avalanche story, how they wanted to pitch
Yeah.
themselves as a gaming
I don't wanna,
chain.
I
And
don't want to specify names, so yeah, but you hit on the right point.
yeah, I mean, that is how they wanted to pitch themselves. And a lot of games were launched there as well. But I don't see a lot of new games being launched. We invested into a very interesting platform, a very interesting game. I won't like to name the game. They're not working anymore.
Mm.
They launched on Avalanche. We invested in them, and now like the reason they left Avalanche was that they could not they were not excited about the infrastructures that were being provided, and the transaction speed was too low. The gas price was too finicky. So very very interesting, Deepak. That these this conversation has suddenly become very exciting, and since we're talking about money, uh,
Yeah,
Deepak, let's elaborate this more for the institution guys who might want to invest in you and want to like work with you more. Let's talk about security.
sure.
So how do you make sure that the LP amount that comes to you is secure?
Sure.
How do you make sure that like an investor who has say $1 million and he wants to give it to Steer Protocol to manage it and to grow? How
Yeah.
do you make sure that you create a transparent system for them uh, to grow? Like what's your way?
Yeah, so this answer will probably be into three different levels. One is at the strategy level, where the strategy actually handles the positions. Second is
Mm-hmm.
on the bot level, where the actual money sits in, and third is at the execution level, how this strategy and this vault being pulled and executed, so that funds are safe, right? So let's
So the
talk about strategy,
strategy. Let's talk
strategy,
about strategy.
vaults, and then
Vault.
the execution.
Execution. Okay. So the execution layer does not have the vault direct access, right? So that's not where the funds are sitting. So that's like multi-layer security.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So at the strategy level, all our strategy are compiled back into WebAssembly. Now, if you learn about WebAssembly, it actually run into a sandbox environment. It do not have access to internet. It do not have access to any other data. only role of strategy on Steer, all strategies are off chain. We are working on on chain strategy as well, but right now all strategies are off chain,
Mhm.
meaning the strategy does not have access to anything. The only purpose of the strategy is to tell us where are the new positions to be made. That's it. It do not
Hmm.
have funds. Now on the vault level, when the user deposit or institution deposit into Steer vaults,
Mhm.
uh, we do not use any kind of oracle system to decide upon the ratios of deposit. We use our own cross logics, right? uh, and what it helps in, as you might have heard, I don't want to name our competitors, but one of our competitors was hacked because of the oracle price manipulations.
I know.
And yeah, so at that point of time, at that vault level, right, there are cross-chain logic that we use, so there is no oracle dependency, external oracle dependency, I would say. uh, Third is there are internal checks that's
Mhm.
on the vault level. So vault cannot go and do uh, maybe a swap of more than, I mean, there are vault checks that's been added, right? Like max.
I can understand.
Yeah, so there
Okay.
are a lot more vault, max tolerance, slippage checks. I mean, there are
And
technical.
then you use all these aggregator services who can give you the best rate where you like
No, we
transform your
don't need the rate.
token.
We don't need the rate. That's what I'm telling you. We don't
Hmm.
need the rate of the deposit logics. We have our own stuff, and we don't rely on any other external party. It's
Which
just
is
Steer.
very, very exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you
And the
don't
third,
have. Hmm.
the
Yeah,
third is
please go ahead.
the third. So strategy itself is a Wesson bundle which do not have access. It's an off-chain, right? It has its own checks also, which anyone can add, right? How much you want to be placed at one point of time, right? Maximum slippage, XYZ stuff. Same at the world level, there are checks being played on-chain and off-chain both. And then on the
Mm-hmm.
execution level, as I told you prior, we do have this deterministic execution system where before going to execution, every node, so we have a keeper node system where every node need to uh, come to consensus before publishing result on chain. If one of those is compromised, the execution will be reverted. So there is no execution that will happen. So any money that stays on our vault will be safe, right, at that particular instant of time. All the money that's been added into Steer Vault will go and add it back into the pool. So we don't hold any custody. All our system is permissionless.
So
It's
it's
open.
customized, which is very exciting because that's what investors would want. This is what we demand from the decentralized world, right? That the money should be kept in our controls. So since
Yeah.
it is non-custodial, so they can any ways they can take out the funds whenever they would want.
Yes.
And okay, is there a
And
specific lock period that you guys offer as well?
no, anyone can withdraw deposit anytime they want.
From next day onwards. Got
Sure.
it.
And we
And
also
these.
provide insurance services via Nexus Mutual and one other provider. So if any institution, I mean, institution deal does not happen like this, but if any big whale who wants to, insure his
Sure.
liquidity, he can do it via Nexus Mutual. There are rates and everything is present on our vault, so they can directly look into it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That is
And
very, very exciting, Deepak. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and just to add a last piece of it, we do work with a lot of custody providers as well. So in case they need a custody providers which have their own temp solutions, so trunky asset management solutions that they
Mhm.
utilize Steer Infra underneath, so they can utilize that also, work with the custodian if they would like to. We do have regulatory compliance and other sort, everything that the institution need. We have everything in place, or
Hmm.
partners would provide that.
Got it. Very, very exciting.
Yeah,
Deepak, tell me more about these plans. I'm excited to know about your perpetuals. What are you planning to do with that market? It's a very interesting market
yeah,
where you can like. So, how do you plan to grow the money there? And obviously, perpetuals is a bit risky as well. So, how do you mitigate the risks? How much leverage do you think you will use? Give us more details.
sure. So before I get into it, why are we doing? I think that's probably gonna be the most important. Why are we doing all this, right? I mean, if you look at DeFi right now, it's too complex, right? If you want
Got
to do anything, thousand of providers, thousand of things on your face to do, right? If you have to do any sort of integration, thousand of provider on your face. People, I mean, anyone coming into the DeFi world, one thing they'll say, end up saying it's complex,
It's
right? They
very
don't
common.
understand, right? And
Mm-hmm.
why we as a steer on the liquidity side doing all this is because we want to abstract all the complexity away, right? And let the user use just one stop solution, one platform where everything happens for them, right? It's
Which is
whether
what we want. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's whether a Web3 operator, meaning retail, LP protocol, or institution, or asset issuers, or anyone, right? That's the idea. So coming back to your questions, so we started with this liquidity management for concentrated liquidity AMMs. Now
Mm-hmm.
we are expanded into more AMMs. So we expanded into uh, we have something going on. I can't comment on it right now, but Steer will
Mm-hmm.
expand into more different kind of AMMs as well, which are not V3, not concentrated liquidity, but the others as well. Second is I forgot your question. Can you repeat again? I just blank
I
out.
wanted to know more about perpetuals. How are you
Oh, yeah,
guys
yeah, yeah. Got it.
integrating that in your platform?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so we started into Spot, right? Now Steer has grew, partnered with couple of provider like Strike, who is an option vault provider.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we actually built option vaults on
Mm-hmm.
Strike, where people can do or use their liquidity not just for spot markets, but for the option market as well. So let's suppose
Uh,
Hardeep provide liquidity. Hardeep is a liquidity provider, right? He wants to earn from swap fees, incentives, rewards, and everything, right? He comes to Steer. He deposited liquidity into one of the Steer vaults, right? Now this vault is actually maybe let's suppose Uniswap V3. It's on the Uniswap V3. Maybe some pool, right? So the Hardeep deposit liquidity into that pool of the
mm-hmm.
Steer vault, right? Now, that same amount of liquidity will be utilized for your spot markets, meaning if anyone is doing a buying and selling of the asset, right, the fees that's generated from that, you will make
Mm-hmm.
fees. Same amount of liquidity will be go and will be utilized for the option markets, like the
Mm-hmm.
partner, right? So your liquidity now will be able to earn more because now your liquidity now is being used for the option market, right? We partnered with another provider called Margin Zero, who is actually one of the per provider. Uh, so now your liquidity now again goes to another thing, which is perp, right? So that's how the idea is to one place provide liquidity is being used at every place.
So if an investor wants to be a part of your ecosystem, Deepak, um, does he have to rely on a particular chain, or do you have this multi-chain bridged vault which can, suppose Sonic is more profitable at this moment, so you invest your funds on Sonic, or if
Yeah.
Avalanche at maybe they resurrect again in some
So
150 years, they are again getting more liquidity, and somehow they start to like get all this interest back. So how does Steer Protocol make sure that the investment is at its best? Because that's what we investors want, right? uh, we want a platform where we can invest, and that platform needs to give us the best there is in the market. So how
yeah.
does Steer create
So
this multi-chain ecosystem? Are you guys multi-chain, or is the fund only relying on a particular chain in which the money has been deposited to?
right now we are just multi-chain. There's a partner. There are few partners who is utilizing Steer Infra to build what you just said,
Wow.
and it probably gonna be like index fund where you just deposit your money into USDC or just one representation of your money, right? Now, what you're calling is not the liquidity provisioning; it's actually the portfolio management. So,
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah,
Steer, if I talk just about Steer, we do have a product which is called Toro, where you just connect your normal wallet, automatically it becomes a smart wallet, right? And you can just talk to him and just tell him this is what I want, this is the asset, right? And just grant couple of permissions and you are done. So this is under development right now, but hopefully in future, all these things could be easily be done with Steer directly. But we have partner like Strat. I mean, let me name Stratex, who's
Mhm.
actually building the same thing. Uh, we help Reserve with their DTF launch. I'm not too sure if you know about Reserve DTF that
Of
they
course,
launched.
of course.
So
Hmm.
we are the ALM behind the liquidity provisioning of those assets.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you can just so there are few partners who are existing right now, which are utilizing Steer Infra in some of the different fashion to just
So
enable
if
portfolio.
so, if any new developer wants to use your current infrastructure, um, they can contact you, and you can actually help them set up something,
Yeah,
and you will be the ones who will be managing the funds, and they can actually create an infrastructure for marketing or investments, and you will be taking care of the LP strategies and everything in the back end.
yeah, that also. And then if there are custom solutions that they require, which Steer Infra can help in, surely they can utilize Steer Infra to build that too as well. So we have a couple of partners like Equalizer and few more who's actually building on our reward distribution platform. So they're not utilizing the reward distribution platform as is. They're actually customizing it in the way they want and then
Mhm.
integrating in their own platform. So it's not just Steer direct facing stuff. It's actually so we have 300 plus B2B partners in some of the different fashion. They are using Steer in different form or fashion. So up to them how they want to customize and use. But yeah, Steer do provide that SDK and infra for anyone to build.
Awesome, Deepak. I think this was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And on the closing side, any advice that you would want to give to people entering DeFi or building in Web3?
I mean, the biggest thing is don't chase the hype, right? Solve the real problem. Be
Hmm.
near to your customers as well as investors, as well as I mean, revenue is one thing which a lot of people ignore. But I think to create a sustainable business, you have to somehow focus on it, right? At a
Hmm.
certain stage, that should be your goal. So your 0 to 1 journey can happen with the hype and stuff, but your 1 to 10 journey is very difficult if you're not at the right path. So,
Hmm.
and one last thing is always prioritize security. Take time to build. Don't rush through market. If you know what you are building, will hit the market, right?
Hmm. Awesome, Deepak. And where can listeners follow you and Steer Finance to stay updated? Of course, in this video, we'll make sure all the links and relevant things are listed in this description. But where else would they be able to contact you guys?
Yeah, so we are active on two platforms. One is our own Discord, which you
Uh-huh.
can find through our website, and then there is Twitter, where we post our partnerships or any kind of updates. So at Twitter, our handle is Steer Protocol. That's it.
Mhm. We'll make
And
sure to post that in the description below.
yeah, and I'm always around on Telegram or Twitter or anywhere people want to hit me. But my Twitter handle is denomar1. So
Mhm. We'll make sure to add that as well.
sure.
It was a wonderful conversation, Deepak. I'm sure people who would be listening to this podcast will definitely get a lot of value. And I'm sure a lot of institutions or LPs who have had very bad experiences with the centralized hedge funds, they
Yeah.
would want to find a way where they can actually see where their investment is going. And when someone is also managing it in a decentralized way and also giving you an insurance, and also everything is protected, everything is using the best of the best Web3, I think the world is waiting for you guys, and I'm really happy that you guys have pivoted to the right thing finally.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what is in store for us.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time, Deepak. We'll stay in touch, and it was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And definitely, you guys are doing great, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Ardeep, for inviting me here. Always glad to talk to you and looking
Thank
forward to
you.
this.
See you, man. Bye.
See ya. Bye bye.